Hi, Michael.
Hi,
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Congrats on the movie.
Thank you so much.
I was wondering, like, this is your first feature film. What was the idea that like brought you to tell this story about codependency and like marriage and like the life between a couple?
Well, I've been in my relationship for almost 17 years.
Oh,
now,
wow.
a long time. And I wrote this film something like 7 years ago, a long time ago. It was when my partner and I were moving in and living together, and I sort of realized that we had the exact same friends, we ate the same food, we breathed the same air. I kind of realized I was no longer living my own life, that we were living this sort of shared life. And there's so many turns of phrase about things of like, you know, sharing a life with somebody. And I thought like, oh, what if you were so intertwined that you not only shared a life, but you started to share flesh and blood? And I was like, oh, that's a great way to explore these issues and these themes that I'm kind of interested in. But also I could imagine 10 crazy body horror freakouts that I could do with that. And I love body horror, and I thought, okay, that's what I really want to write.
Okay, do you think that, sorry, I'm Jose Luis, I must say that your film is amazing.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's terrifying. I like it a lot. It's very, very, very awesome. So, do you believe it's possible for someone to be happy in a monotony, in a relation that it's like a monotony that match with harmony sometimes could be?
Yeah, I think so. That the film is sort of about those anxieties of fully committing to somebody, but by the end of the film, you're sort of hoping that the couple really kind of works it out and finds that harmony. That as I said, I've been in a relationship for almost 17 years, so I really love it. That the film is about the fear of giving over yourself to somebody fully, but also that maybe it's worth it. Maybe there is something to be said about sacrificing your sense of individualism to be with somebody that you love so fully.
It's a powerful message nowadays, I guess, because young people.
Yeah, with the apps, the
like
bloody apps, all the TikTok teens on their apps.
Everything is fast.
Yeah. It makes me feel maybe older than I am. That I'm such a.
You are still young, really young.
We'll see, but you know, feeling like I'm in such a sort of traditional relationship. But you know, I'm 34 and I'm still not married, despite the fact that I've been in a relationship for almost 17 years. But I look at my parents' generation, and everybody was getting married at like 19, 20. They were having kids at 22. So yeah, it does feel like we're getting a little long in the tooth.
Yes, it's what happens now.
¿Me podéis oír, por favor?
Sí,
Excuse me, I don't speak English.
Oh, no worries.
Me gustaría que nos hablaras sobre esa mezcla de filosofía y misticismo que hay en la película.
Okay.
And he was wondering, like, what was the thing that brought you to this mix between mythology and mitología
Y filosofía.
and philosophy in the movie?
It sort of all just began from the kernel of an idea of what if you shared a life with somebody so fully that it became physical, and then from that I was thinking a lot about sort of folk horror as a genre, whereby horror in the woods, horror with mythology, horror with sort of like paganism, and I watched a lot of folk horror films. And whilst I was researching the film, I came across this idea from Plato's Symposium, where he spoke about how the initial form of humans were two people, a man and a woman combined, with 4 arms and 4 legs and 2 faces. And I was like, that's perfect, I could have put that in the movie, that's so great. And within sort of the mythology of the film, I wanted to make it feel like that the film has a thought out mythology, which it does, and kind of I have in my head, but I didn't want to sort of stop the film to overly explain that mythology, and just kind of give the audience sort of the edges of the mythology in order to kind of to show that there is something kind of behind this all, but not to stop the momentum of the film, to just hold on the brakes and point it out.
¿Me puedes?
Sí.
En relación con lo que ha comentado, ¿en algún momento llegó a prescindir del elemento de la secta? Porque yo creo que la historia se entendería igual y reforzaría el carácter metafórico sobre las relaciones de la pareja que tiene la película.
Was there a point where you were trying to get rid of the sect part of the movie because like the mythology and the philosophy is still there, but did you get to a point where you were trying to get rid of that bit?
No. The sort of sect, the sort of cult part of the film was something that came. It wasn't in the first draft. It was, the second or third where I was rewriting the script, and it felt like there was something missing in the script. It felt like there wasn't a greater sense of community of this sort of cult element. And what was kind of fun about thinking about this cult was that. We only meet Jamie, this kind of third character who's from this cult, which seems like, there's not so many people around, but the nature of the cult is to diminish in numbers as it goes on, because it's about people becoming one. So there's a line in the film about like, I think their numbers kind of dwindled after a certain amount of time. It's like, yeah, because if there were 200 people in a week, there would be 100 people, and then 50 people, and then 25 people. So it was fun to kind of work out that stuff, but It kind of makes a film sort of feel bigger and more thought out, and I'm happy to say it is thought out. But yeah, I didn't want to kind of just over-explain the whole thing, because nothing kills a film like too much exposition. To quote Urinetown the musical, I don't know why I'm doing that.
I was wondering, like, this is like a huge step for a first film, like you've premiered the film in the biggest festivals in the world, and you've got Alison and Dave, which are like Hollywood stars. How do you get rid of all the buzz? Because we can see in the poster like the best horror film of the year, and like you're winning like a lot of attention and getting a lot of attention with this film. I was wondering, like, how do you deal with all that buzz, and also how was the work with Alison and Dave, because they've been a couple for a long time, to like create a new type of couple on set for the future?
Yeah, working with Alison and Dave was genuinely like a dream come true. It was amazing. When they agreed to do the movie, I couldn't believe it that they'd come on board. I was like, why are you doing this? You're better than this. Why are you doing this? That was cool, and they are the nicest people to work with as well. They're so passionate, they're so good. My agents have told me that Alison and Dave have ruined every other actor for me, because I'll never work with anybody as good. And I kind of believe it, because it was such a pleasure to work with them. Regarding kind of the buzz of the film, it's been really surreal, to be honest, because I've been working as a filmmaker for 17 years now. But since I was 17, so yeah, 17 years. But it's all been small stuff like web series, short films, music videos, that kind of thing. But and now this has kind of gone around the world in this weird and wonderful way. When we were editing the movie, it was just me and the editor and the assistant editor in this little tiny room in Melbourne, Australia. And we were making it, and we were like, we think it's good. And then to go and play it at Sundance and people liked it, we were like, we were right, it is good. But what I guess is kind of funny is that I go on these trips to festivals like Sitges or Sundance or whatever, and while I'm here at the festival, I'm walking red carpets, people want photos, people want autographs. That's all very new to me. But then I go back to where I live in Melbourne, Australia, and nobody cares. Everyone's like, yeah, you're just a regular piece of shit.
Michael.
Exactly. So it's funny. This always kind of feels like a bit of a strange dream, because every one of these trips is overseas, and I'm usually by myself. And I go and I do this thing, and then I come back, and it's just normal life. So all of this just feels very surreal.
It's been in 3 days that you are answering many questions, and they ask questions about the plot. I think that the best thing for a movie is not to talk too much. The part of the sector is something that I like, but I prefer not to talk about that. Is there a lot of people? Are there a lot of people asking you about this kind of special moments that show too much of the film? Because I think that we are touching the spoiling point. Yeah,
the hope is to go into the film as unspoiled as possible. I think Neon did a really good job in the trailer of not showing too much. This whole kind of whirlwind is something that's totally new to me. I think it was David Lynch who said that you make a movie and everybody wants you to talk about the movie, but the movie is the talking. Like the movie sort of should speak for itself. And that's how I feel about this, but also it's talking about the movie that gets people to go and see the film. And there's certainly things that I wouldn't want to spoil about the film, but it's also kind of there's something kind of inevitable about the plot, I think, whereby once you sort of know what the premise is, that the film really just sort of luxuriates in that premise and goes to the kind of logical conclusion of it. But it's a film full of sequences that get a great reaction from an audience. So I think it's best to go in as unspoiled as possible.
Yes, I think so. My question is that if you have a lot of questions, I guess so. No? You have many questions about this kind, about the plot.
Yeah. Lots of questions about the plot, which is, it's funny being here in Spain where the film hasn't come out yet. It's coming out on Halloween, I think, on the 31st of October, whilst, I live in Australia and the film came out like a month or two ago. So in some ways I'm like, everybody's seen it, but then I'm over here, it's like, no, nobody's seen it. Okay, I've got to be careful about it.
And one question more about the main characters. Mm-hmm. They have a lot of feeling because they are real life partners, couple. So in this case, does it make any sense to have an intimate coordinator or something like this?
Yeah, we had an intimacy coordinator on the film, but only for the picture doubles. So we didn't use one for Dave and Allison because they're married, they don't need it, they're very comfortable with each other. But the nature of making a film like this is you have picture doubles for when you're setting up the lights and the camera. And Dave and Allison might need to be in makeup getting a prosthetic put on them. So we had people that were, the same height as them to kind of figure out the lighting setups. And they weren't a couple, so we had an intimacy coordinator on set to make sure that they were comfortable. But when it came to Dave and Allison, no, they were fine. They didn't need it. Mm-hmm. That would have been, funny, I think. Somebody saying like, oh yeah, are you okay to touch your husband? Are you okay to touch your wife? Yeah.
Viendo la película, quería preguntarle si hubo alguna inspiración en la ciencia o en el mundo natural que le ayudara a formular esas conexiones físicas que vemos en la película.
Did you use any reference from the natural world or science to create this film?
Interesting. Yeah, there's I think, is it the anglerfish? Is a fish in the deep ocean where their mating ritual has the male subsumed by the female. So you've got this female fish and this tiny little male fish that bites onto it and it gets eclipsed by this other fish. And so that was something that kind of came up. But it's pretty biologically rare, I think, for when you're procreating for something to become one as opposed to become more. So that was one. There's other things, inosculation, which is a thing that people do with trees, where they grow trees to grow through each other and kind of interact. That was something that we kind of looked at as a reference, but other than that, not too much. Really just from my freaking brain.
Me gustaría que le preguntara, en las escenas de body horror, sobre todo, hay mucho humor negro. ¿Era una forma de mitigar el impacto de esas escenas en una audiencia más generalista?
You use a lot of dark humor in the scenes where you also use body horror. Was that intentional for you to reach a bigger audience?
Yeah, definitely. My background is in comedy. I've made a lot of sketch comedy. But kind of everything I've ever done before this film was very much comedy with a capital C. And then when I started writing the script, I thought that I would just write a very serious horror movie, and the plan, I'm going to write Hereditary, something like that. But then as I was writing it, I kept finding opportunity for jokes, and I kept kind of resisting it for a while, being like, no, this is horror, you can't make jokes. And then I kind of thought I'm being dishonest with myself if I'm steering away from the comedy that comes very naturally in life. I think like every tragic moment or hard moment of my life has something very funny kind of going on. Like within this film, there is a scene that I think of where the two characters have gone through an intense physical trauma, and then it cuts to them eating on the floor of the kitchen. And to me, that's kind of what life is. That if I had just done that, I would need a snack before I do anything else. That's the truth of it. And so it wasn't just putting in comedy for comedy's sake. I felt like it would be less realistic to kind of avoid those moments that are naturally funny.
You use a lot of practical BFs in this movie. How was that work on set? Like how did that work out? Because now we are used to like green screens and like things make in post-production. Mm-hmm. How was that for you?
It was amazing. I mean, I have a background as a visual effects artist, so I did a lot of the VFX on the film myself, the digital effects. So the digital effects are kind of I understand them a little bit more, but I don't know anything about practical effects. So that was like magic to me. That was so much fun, and it kind of gets the crew united. Like when you make an indie film like this, like you as the director or you as the actors and producers, you care so much about this film. But when you're hiring the camera people and the sound people, you don't know if they care about this movie. It's just another job for them. So, you know, when you start the process, they are a little, not suspicious, but they're a little surly. They don't know if this is going to be good or not. And then like day 2 of this film, we had this crazy prosthetic and this, you know, we would wheel out the puppet every day at like lunchtime, some practical thing. And you could just see the whole crew kind of like getting excited. Like everybody was like, oh, what is this movie? This is great. And it really kind of charmed everybody. It got everybody much more excited than, I love digital effects as well, but there's something about, you know, you shooting actors with dots on their faces that just isn't quite as charming on set as when you have a perfect Dave Franco puppet that you're stuffing hair into the throat of. Like that gets everybody being like, what are we doing? It's so much fun.
Also, it helps actors to get into character more.
Yeah, definitely. There was a scene in the film where we had Dave and Allison, well, there were a couple of scenes, but one in particular where they were literally joined with a prosthetic on their arm, so they couldn't separate. And every time, we didn't have the budget to make a second prosthetic, so they were literally all day stuck together, and when they needed to pee and go to the bathroom, they would have to go to the bathroom together. So they would be peeing in front of each other, and, you know, whilst they're like connected at the arm, which is something you couldn't ask for other actors. Again, no intimacy coordinator, they were just fine with it. And that was a great day on set. I think that was day 3 of the entire shoot, and I think that was the day when everybody realized, oh, this is maybe something special. This is
gonna be fun.
Really fun. Yeah.
We have talked about the philosophical aspect, to merge two souls. You said that you have a freaky mind. So my question is, have you thought about the sex of a woman and a man mixed together, merged together? Have you thought about the physical changes?
Well, I think like not so obviously it's a matter of the film, like that what happens. Like it would be interesting to see the fully nude form of one of these people, but I think it more exists in the allegorical. It more exists as a metaphorical representation of togetherness, as opposed to you know, kind of getting too in the weeds of how this would actually function within the real world. Like, let's say that if hypothetically our characters did fully merge towards the end of the film, I think that it would be hard to continue that story. You know, they need to kind of present as a certain way, and that's sort of that's more of a punchline than it is the starting off point. It would be challenging to make a sequel to this film.
Very challenging.
Jamás pensé en una película de terror escuchar una canción de Spice Girls.
Oh.
I never thought I could hear Spice Girl song in a horror film.
Well, you're welcome. I love the Spice Girls. That was in the script. The Spice Girls, like to the point where I gave character names and dialogue to, like Emma Bunting sings like "Candlelight and Summer Forever." Like when I was a kid, I grew up in New Zealand, and my sister is older than me, and she would take me into the basement, and she was like, "We gotta have a dance off to the Spice Girls." And she'd put on the Spice Girls, and she and I would dance together, and she would judge who was the better dancer, and she always won. So I think it was kind of a rigged process, but it needed to be a Spice Girls. We didn't have a second option for that song. It had to be. It was in the script, and we only got approval from the Spice Girls the day before we shot that scene.
Oh, wow.
So it was literally the day before, and we were going to shoot it whatever. We'd already shot the Spice Girls record cover. We'd already kind of done that stuff and shot the scene where Allison mentions the Spice Girls earlier, but we still didn't have approval of the rights to use the song. And then we got it the day that we shot that thing, and it was amazing. We were all so excited. Again, it's another moment where the crew was like, what are we making right now? We were playing Spice Girls on set as these guys are dancing, completely nude. They were like, what is this movie?
El aspecto de esos dos perros que se juntan al principio y luego más tarde de la otra unión humana que no ha acabado bien, me recuerda mucho a La cosa de John Carpenter. No sé si era una referencia que él tenía en mente, no sé si a la hora de crear la historia o a la hora del aspecto de las criaturas.
Were you trying to reference John Carpenter with the two like dogs binding together and the two human bodies binding together in the movie?
Absolutely. I think The Thing is maybe my favorite movie of all time. I think it's perfect. When I was writing the movie, I was listening to The Thing score by Ennio Morricone just over and over and over.
It's
again.
amazing.
It's so good, and it's just something I listen to a lot when I'm writing. So I knew that with this film, like with horror, like it's a horror film certainly, but I wanted it to. It's kind of a slow build. You start with these people in the real world, and it kind of takes 25 minutes for the horror to really begin. So I wanted there to be this cold open, this little 5-minute scene at the beginning, that kind of promises, hey, there's horror coming, like this is a little horror scene. And when I was thinking of great horror openings, I thought of The Thing, and I thought about the dogs, and I thought, oh, maybe I could do a little Thing pastiche to begin this film. So, yeah.
Have you thought also about the human centipede, or for instance, the Steve Universe or another references?
I'm sorry, say again?
Yes, have you thought also about other references, such as Steve Universe or the human centipede?
No, I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
Humans in Tibet?
Yeah.
Well, what's that? That sounds interesting.
no, horror, body horror movie.
Oh, no, I don't know that one.
Yeah.
Filmmakers usually mention that a movie like changes a lot during the process, from the writing till the editing. Like as a writer, director, and editor of like this feature, like how was like it different from like the first point to like getting it edited and finished?
I think maybe something kind of unique about this film is that it didn't change much during the edit. I mean, obviously, like there were different edits and it got better and better, but there's no deleted scenes for this film. It was too low budget. Like we couldn't. All the deleted scenes were deleted from the script before we shot because we didn't have enough budget to shoot the additional stuff. So I think in the original versions of the script, the film's probably 7 minutes longer. There were some kind of additional scenes. Well, it was a real challenge to break down the first act because I wanted it to feel very natural and in the real world. But one thing that I was really proud of was when we're trying to break that first act down, there was there's this opening scene at this kind of party that the main characters are at, and then I had this whole journey of them getting in the car and packing and moving to the country, and I realized that I came up with this idea whereby Dave's character would fall asleep and then he would wake up and he'd be in the new house, and it was kind of this idea of like he was losing time, like time was sort of like slipping through him, and it was kind of a surreal moment. And that I thought I really liked that as a creative choice, and it also took out 8 pages of script that we didn't have to film, so it was really practical as well. But I don't think we shot like literally anything that kind of that we didn't use. There was the only thing we kind of shot that we didn't use was in that opening party scene. We had initially written that Allison's character was talking to Mia's character, and then they had a full conversation, and then we would cut to Dave outside talking with the music boys, and it wasn't quite working in the edit, so we ended up cross-cutting those as they were happening simultaneously. And if you look closely, you can see in the background of the Dave scene that Allison is inside in a way that doesn't make any sense continuity-wise, but nobody's going to notice that, so we can get away with it.
You don't even notice.
Have you ever thought about doing it more visceral, more gory?
No, not really. I think that there's a scene in the film where it feels like we're going to show something extremely gory, and then we kind of cut away. And to me, that's again that kind of comedy instinct of. I think it would be a bigger audience reaction to cut away from it than to show it. I'm a big fan of gore and violence. Like I wouldn't shy away from it from a censorship point of view or anything like that. But I just felt like what was best for the story and what was best for the momentum was to kind of show what we did and kind of shy away from the other stuff.
I ask it because maybe you want to reach a bigger audience. Don't you think so?
I mean, maybe. I think that this film has the potential, and it has to appeal to people that aren't necessarily body horror fans, because I think body horror is a genre that I love, but I'm like a weird horror pervert. But I think that it can be slightly isolating to a broader audience. But to me, writing the script it was always based in the characters and what would be kind of best to see this relationship go through this sort of crucible. And but if I wanted to show more gore, I would be very happy to do it. But it's weird because a lot of the kind of horror in this that's physical is under the skin. So there's not a lot of blood in the movie.
No.
It's a fairly bloodless film, even though pretty horrible things happen.
Yes, it's a body horror film, but I think that many people can see it. It's not so requiring.
Yeah.
There are films that are heavy to see, to watch, hard to watch.
My mum is almost 70 and she liked the movie, which is crazy because she only likes movies starring Judi Dench. So it was a bit of a journey for her. She loved it.